Today's episode of Lone Star Lawyers on the Varsity Podcast Network is brought to you by Varsity Search. Varsity Search specializes in helping small firms in Texas hire lawyers and build great teams. So if you are thinking of making a move or your law firm is looking to hire, please go to varsitysearch.com and book a time to visit right into my calendar. Varsity Search, building great teams. Hey everyone, Daniel here with you on another Monday Mentors episode where we're going to visit with a Texas lawyer with an established practice and ask them to share advice on how you can grow as a lawyer and reach your career goals. Today's special guest is Kimber Davison of the construction law firm Griffith Davison in Dallas. More on her in a moment. Later this week, we are going to be back with another Movie Verdicts episode. Robert Callahan is back with me, and we are going to do a deep dive into The Lincoln Lawyer. So be sure to check your feed on Friday, or if not, you might be like that missing crucial witness, Mr. Green. Yeah, you got to have Mr. Green, and we just can't do the show, can we? Well, we'll figure it out either way, but we do want you to be there, so check your feed on Friday for The Lincoln Lawyer Movie Verdicts episode. Hey, if you want to contact me or I can help you in any way, please email me, daniel@varsitysearch.com. You can also tweet at Daniel Hare or send me a message on LinkedIn. All right, I mentioned today we are privileged to hear from Kimber Davison, the managing shareholder of the construction law firm Griffith Davison in Dallas. She is board certified in commercial real estate and construction law, has been a Texas super lawyer each of the past 7 years. In August, she was appointed to the board of directors of the Texo Association, the largest construction industry trade association in Texas and one of the largest in the country. So with that, let's jump into our conversation with Kimber Davison on today's Monday Mentors episode of Lone Star Lawyers. Kimber Davison with Griffith Davison in Dallas. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate you so much being here and being with our audience.
Absolutely. Happy to join you.
Well, let's start out just by learning a little bit about your firm and your practice. Why don't you just tell us about what your firm does and kind of what your role is within the firm? I've given a little bit of your bio and introduction, but I'd love to hear it in your own words.
Well, we are a boutique firm in that niche of what is considered a specialized firm. We practice in the areas of construction and real estate, which means that we stay away from general practice areas. We are not a full-service litigation firm. We're not a full-service transactional firm. We limit our practice to those areas of construction and real estate, and specifically within that area, commercial construction and real estate. Our primary focus is representation of general contractors and developers. We do have both litigation and transactional sides. In fact, our firm is rather unique in the respect that we have a rather bright line between our transactional attorneys and our litigation attorneys. While we're all in that same boutique area, we do service both the contract and real estate acquisitions, dispositions, land use on our transactional teams, and then service the dispute resolution in those areas on our litigation side.
Fantastic. And I know that as we've talked a number of times, that split is unique and different, and that the service of the industry, kind of from a holistic standpoint, is really what your firm does well and is known best for, isn't it?
It is. We represent a variety of size companies. Everything from billion-dollar international firms to regional developers and general contractors. And particularly with respect to those regional general contractors and developers, we handle, basically we consider them ourselves outsourced in-house counsel. In other words, we'll help them from everything from their HR needs to their contract needs. We have a attorney who specializes in corporate matters. So we are servicing that particular niche, the general contractor developer niche, in a multitude of their business needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And then specifically your role in the firm.
Yes, I head up the transactional section. So I am board certified in both construction law and real estate law. And so I head up a team of 7, 8 of us who handled nothing but transactional servicing of those clients. And that includes real estate acquisitions and dispositions, all the financing that goes along with that, the land use issues that go along with the real estate clients, as well as servicing the contract needs on the construction clients. Construction contracts are incredibly complex with a lot of different standardized forms with multiple layers of contracts. And so we actually have 3 or 4 attorneys who do nothing but construction contract work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then thinking about the fact that our audience is probably a little puzzled right now that there are 2 Baylor lawyers talking here who are not litigators. And they're probably like, what's going on here? Is there like some alternate universe happening, right? But here we are.
That's right.
And there's more of us out there.
That's right.
Well,
that's right. Actually, of my 7, 8 members on my team, at least 4... trying to do the math in my head real quick, the count down the hall, 4 or 5 of us are Baylor lawyers. So I think it provides a great background. I mean, I actually litigated for my first 7 years.
Yeah.
And I think there is nothing better than having that exposure to the litigation side when doing the transactional side. Because let's face it, why are we doing contracts? Why are we even having these extremely complicated documents in place? Well, the only reason we need them is for dispute avoidance. I mean, my entire job on the construction contract side is risk management, dispute avoidance. And to have a good understanding of what happens on the litigation side, I think it gives me an absolute edge. I come up against lawyers who don't have that knowledge, don't have a good understanding of maybe, what evidence would need to be used in a dispute and things like that. And yeah, I think it's a great advantage to have that background.
Yeah. Well, and I want to pause there for just a moment before I want to shift to something else, but there may be lawyers listening to us who are, maybe 4 or 5 years in, and whether they're on the transactional side, litigation side, maybe starting to think about, whether they should make a shift to the other side, like you did. I just wonder what, advice you might have for them as they're maybe starting to deal with those thoughts or kind of thinking through what that might look like. What should they be thinking about?
They're different worlds. The transactional side and the litigation side are really, it's a different lifestyle. As far as, who you're dealing with on the other side, as far as the, time pressures, as far as the, work itself, it's very, very different. And not to say one is good or bad. They both have their positives. They both have their somewhat negatives at times. Mm-hmm. For instance, the contract work is transactional work. I'm largely bound by whatever my closing date is, which if you're not a fan of year-end work, then you may want to stay out of the transactional business. Right. I think every deal I have has to close by December 31st every year. So,
of course.
So it's deadline oriented in that regard. It is the benefit of it, transactional work. The part that I really like is the common ground with the opposing attorney.
Sure.
Now, I may be, we may not agree on the provision, whether it's a contract or whether it's, a real estate deal, whatever the transaction involved is, we may not exactly agree on everything, but we're working towards a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
It is get this deal done, get the building built, get the land bought, get the development done. We're all working towards that common goal. Now, again, it's not easy all the time, and we may spend months and months negotiating and refining and working towards that goal. But at the end of the day, everybody knows we've got a job to do. We've got a goal in mind, and so it just breeds a different working environment than is on the litigation side, where by definition, if you want it to say black, the other guy wants it to say white. So
yeah, right. Well, and looking back to those first few years of practice as you were getting started, of course, then it was in the litigation side, but just generally speaking, doesn't have to be litigation or transactional. What's something that you learned in those early years that were that maybe was especially impactful to you, that has carried with you and really helped you throughout your career?
I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I should have when I was there. I had an inkling of it, but then as I grew, the most important thing, I think, from an associate young lawyer standpoint is understand your role is to work hard, learn as much as you can, absorb as much as you can, and ultimately you are there to help the senior associates and partners do their job. You are there to assist and provide, as I said, be a sponge and learn as much as you can. I mean, if you're blessed like I was to have great mentors and great older attorneys in the firm to learn from, sitting there and absorbing as much of that as you can, but always understanding you're there to help them. Whatever they need to assist those clients of the firm, that's your job. And, just really taking that to heart, I think is what I wish I'd appreciated just a little bit more, and would tell young attorneys.
Yeah. Is there anything that you learned much later that you wished you had known, or that someone had told you when you were getting started?
I probably was anxious. I was very anxious to have a lot of client contact, and I think a lot of young attorneys are.
Sure.
They want to have that. They crave that, and that's great. That's what we're bred to do in law school, is serve clients. And I think if you have that heart for serving clients, that's going to ultimately make you a great attorney. I would tell my younger self to have more patience with that.
Right.
To not push that. I understand now, being on the older side of things, that that client contact, you've got to have some breadth of experience, even with a quote simple matter. Client contact can be a challenging thing, and having some patience and understanding maybe why that's held back from a young attorney.
Sure, no, that's good. I know that you're involved in and have been over the course of your career in a number of different industry organizations and associations, sitting on the board of directors of Texo and founding the monthly construction ladies luncheon. Talk about why that has been a priority for you over the years, and kind of how young lawyers should think about how to best prioritize their time in getting involved with similar types of organizations.
I jumped in pretty early. Being a female in the construction industry put me in a little bit of a different position. I mean, it's still a very male-dominated. It was certainly 25 years ago, and it still is a male-dominated industry. So I was lucky to have some women in the construction industry very early on, taking interest in me as a female, being somewhat unique, a female lawyer, wanting to practice construction law.
Yeah.
And, I took advantage of those relationships early on, of learning what I could and having them introduce me to other people. And I think, from that lesson anyway, is whatever niche you have, whether it's being, a unique because you're a female in a male dominated industry, or maybe you're an Aggie and you've got Aggie alumni connections, or whatever connections you have, take those and run with them. It is important early on, even to the extent a firm doesn't have much business development expectations of, say, a 1, 2, 3 year lawyer. Building your network, building your connections as early as you can will no doubt pay off. I have relationships now, clients, excellent clients who I met 25 years ago when they were young and in the business, and we've grown together, and we have friendships and relationships that transcend the legal process. But that's, get out there early, get out there young, and, just start that web, start meeting people. It doesn't have to turn into a client immediately. Don't be discouraged or disappointed if, you go to a number of functions or join some industry organizations and whatever that may be, and it doesn't immediately turn into a client. It may take a decade of nurturing a relationship and meeting people before that, very special client walks in the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and something that occurs to me as you're talking about that too is thinking about how, it doesn't take very long. You're maybe out of law school 10 years, 12 years before some of your own classmates and colleagues are moving in-house somewhere and all of a sudden can become your clients.
Absolutely.
And right. So it doesn't, you may not think of your classmates as client development when you're maybe just 2 years out, 4 years out, but they can become clients very quickly.
Very quickly.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's a good encouragement just to think long-term about some of that, even with your own classmates and colleagues, as you're coming up. Well, thinking about some of the associates that you've had and led and worked with over the years, what are maybe a couple of ways that an associate can make a positive impression on you as the partner?
It's the classic working hard. I mean, that's a little bit of a trite answer, but someone willing to go the extra mile, who can notice that, hey, I can see you're working late. Is there anything I can do to help? Sometimes just the offer is priceless. Be aware of the stresses and deadlines your partners are under, and offer to help, offer to be there. Again, sometimes just just being around is the most valuable thing, being available to take assignments. And you never know when that assignment comes. It may be, in the evening, and, as the associate maybe stops by on the way out the door and, can I offer some help? Those are just invaluable. It's those people that are there, in the stressful times and the high work times, that you remember. And I tried to make it a point as a young associate to be that person. And I always appreciate that kind of help.
Yeah, we back in just right out of college, I worked for the Oklahoma basketball program, and Coach Sampson, who's now the coach at Houston, was my boss. And sort of among us young staffers, it was always, you don't ever leave before he leaves. You don't ever come in before he comes in. His time is always, at a different, almost set at a different pace than yours is, and you got to adapt to it. And it's funny how, I still think about that now as you're talking, and that reminds me of it so much.
Right.
Is there, and maybe it may be as simple as the flip side of the positive, but what about from a negative impression? How do associates get on your bad side? if that's the
I've never done the responsive. I've never done that before. That's that's a hesitation like that. I tell them if you don't think I've never done that before to every assignment in your first 3 years, then something's wrong, because everything is probably new to you, and a hesitation to jump into something, a hesitation to learn something new, is just a absolute negative for me. Every associate needs to know that a feeling of I don't know what I'm doing is the feeling you should have, and your job as a young associate is to work your way through that and get through that. Do the research, figure out, ask other people. We're not every firm I know is great at providing resources. I know we try to provide as much open door and ask questions as you need, but just the response of no, I don't know how to do that will just set me off.
Oh man, I can only imagine. Well, you kind of touched on this a little bit as we were talking about getting involved in organizations and things, but assuming that it's permitted or encouraged within a firm, within the firm that the lawyer's in, how would you advise them intentionally to go about developing business and developing clients? What's some advice you might have for them on that?
Find what fits your personality. If you're the kind of person who likes to play golf, if you're the kind of person that likes to do fish, likes to go fishing, if you like to, whatever you like to do, if you like a Bible study, figure out what your interest is, because if you're not the kind of person who likes to go to cocktail parties, then do not force yourself to go to cocktail parties. You will be uncomfortable. It'll be unnatural. It won't work. Figure out where your clients are and then how to evolve your interest into that. I no matter what your industry is, no matter what kind of clients you're representing, if you're a family lawyer looking for clients, if you're a corporate lawyer looking for clients, clients are all around us. Yeah. They're at your kid's school. They're at your best friend's wedding. They're everywhere. And your job is to figure out, okay, where's a concentration of my potential quality clients, and how can I fit that with what I like to do, with what my personality is, and make those things match. We have lawyers that'll sometimes say, I'm going to go to, I'm going to go join this industry organization, and I'm going to go to, this kind of party or that kind of event. And I'll ask them, do you even know how to play golf? Do you like to play golf? It makes zero sense for you to force yourself into those situations when there are endless opportunities to do things that you do enjoy and find potential clients.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. When I would counsel law students, they would always panic about the cocktail parties or the reception type things, and we would always kind of talk through that same thing, that doesn't have to, that's not the definition of networking. Correct. And that's the way it sometimes is presented and the way they hear it. And I think young lawyers often get paralyzed by that, for sure. So when you're hiring an associate, going through the process of looking and hiring, how do you go about trying to identify whether someone would be a good fit within your firm's culture, environment, what you're needing there at Griffith Davison?
We try to have the potential candidate relax. An interview is a stressful process, no matter what. It's probably you have to realize from our perspective, it's probably in the middle of our workday. Who knows what meeting we just got out of, what phone call, what assignment we have waiting on us. And so it's that atmosphere from the hiring partner perspective. And then no doubt, the candidate, I don't care how experienced or inexperienced they are, no doubt there's nerves there. I don't know anybody who enjoys, that interview process. And so what we try to do is make an intentional focus on, okay, let's set aside, let's give this person quality time, set aside whatever else is on our mind, get away from our desk. We don't conduct interviews, at our desk. It's just too distracting. Yep. And get everybody to the best chances possible to relax. Let's talk about what movie you just saw. I can read a resume and I can know that, okay, you got the high A in contracts and you clerked for Judge so-and-so. I can read all that and I can imagine that, you're pretty experienced or have a certain amount of credentials depending on where you went to law school and what grades you got. I'm more interested in, okay, what kind of personality do you have? What do you like to do? What are we going to enjoy working together? Yeah. Because in a boutique firm particularly, there's 20 of us, 25 of us in the office, and we spend a lot of time together. And we need to be able to get along and have some common interests and some enjoy being together. Yeah. And if the candidate doesn't particularly click with us or we don't click with them, then it's probably not a good fit no matter what the credentials are. Right. So that's what we try to do. And a lot of people will laugh and, think it's funny that we're asking them, what their favorite radio station is or whatever, what the last concert they went to. But it's just designed to, okay, let's get beyond the technical components of a resume. I mean, those are certainly important and we'll touch on them, but try to get to the personality and the real person.
Yeah. Well, I think that makes complete sense. As I've talked to folks all over that are hiring, for sure, when you get into the mid-size and smaller firm environment, like you said, where it's 20 people, 25 people, and, they can't kind of be, someone that's maybe good on credentials and good at the work, but doesn't otherwise connect well with the rest of the team members, it makes it hard, no matter how good the work is, for the firm to do well and to thrive. So that makes sense. You mentioned the resume. What are some things that are important as you're kind of going through that initial screening process, just on the paperwork that comes in, whether it be resume or cover letter? Are there credentials or mistakes or highlights or things that you're specifically wanting to see?
I like to see, here's something I like to see that I've heard people sometimes are hesitant to put on is non-legal work experience. I know some people advise people, don't put on that you worked at a daycare center, when you were in college, or don't put on. I like to see those things. I like to see a breadth of experience. I like to see that, quite frankly, I worked all during high school and I think there's something to that work ethic. I understand not everybody may have to and maybe didn't, do the same things, but I like to see that. I like to know that maybe you didn't have a 4.0 in college, but if I see you also, were working so many hours, at Home Depot, I think that's of value. And so I like to see those kinds of life experiences. It gives me a fuller picture of who the person is and, kind of those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in your area of practice and in the construction industry specifically, are there things that are going on right now that are new or changing, or things that you're either excited about or concerned about? Kind of what's the you go to the CLE conference for construction law, what's the top line that everybody's talking about?
The top discussion is going to be how badly we need lawyers who are interested in this field. Construction and real estate is absolutely booming, particularly in Texas, but all over the Southeast. It is just phenomenal. The growth in the construction industry, the money that is being poured into construction and real estate development. And we need lawyers who are interested in that area. There's a lot of lawyers who say, come out of school and say, I didn't really know construction law was an area, or, I knew we had one class in it, but, didn't know you could make a career in it. So
right.
We absolutely, that is the talk amongst everybody, is how badly new talent is needed in the area. It's such a growth industry, again, particularly in Texas. And so every conference, every get together is focused on the growth in the industry, the fast-paced changes that are taking on technology-wise, and how much we all need new lawyers who are interested in the area.
Yeah, and that's exciting. I can attest to that as well, just from seeing the number of our students and recent graduates before I left Baylor who had joined a construction law firm, your firm being one, and others in Dallas and Houston as well. And it's an area that we specifically were putting in more opportunities for students to learn about the area, just in not kind of a non-curricular setting, just because it wasn't one that people were aware of. And so I can definitely echo what you just said. So if people are listening and interested in maybe making a change into a different type of practice area, or just needing to find a niche that they want to focus in on within their transactional or litigation side, I think this is an excellent one to think about.
I agree.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up with our rapid fire questions, is there anything that I haven't asked you about yet that you would want to share with the young lawyers in the audience, or just anything that you want to go deeper on that we just had a chance to touch on earlier?
No, I think I just, wrap up by saying, I think, as I said earlier, I think this real estate construction industry is really an exciting industry to be in, to practice law in. I can honestly say I have zero regrets in the area that I chose. I love the clients I represent. And I urge everyone who is thinking about maybe, embarking on a particular area of law, or maybe changing that area of practice, to think about what kind of clients you would represent in that area. So often we focus on the area of law and, for instance, whether or not I like contract law, or whether I liked real property, or whatever the subject matter may be. And some consideration should be towards, what kind of clients am I going to represent? What kind of people, people who, in my particular instance, I represent contractors and developers. These are, smart, hardworking people who want to create something. I enjoy what I do. And would just think about that aspect of a choice.
Yeah. And just being able to see a physical manifestation of the end result, right? That you get this. That's just something that, a lot of times lawyers get to see kind of results on paper.
Yes.
But
I get to drive by mine.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's really cool. So that's awesome. Well, okay. Rapid fire questions. Are you ready? Just one word or one short phrase answers for this. All right. Name one trait or characteristic you most want to see in an associate.
Professionalism.
Awesome. What habit has been key to your success?
It's funny. The first thing that came to mind, my partner says I have a Puritan work ethic.
Puritan. We're going to need a definition on that.
Correct.
That needs a little more.
I think that's a compliment. I think that means I'm very hardworking, but I think so.
Is that in Black's Law Dictionary?
I don't know.
I have to pull that out. Favorite app or productivity tool?
My timekeeping app. I can keep time on my smartphone through our app. It's an app that's particular to our timekeeping software. And when it came out, it changed my life. I can keep my time anywhere.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Is it one, can you mention the name, or is it one that others could use?
Centerbase. Yeah, Centerbase is the name of it.
Centerbase.
It's awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
So there you go. Recommendation. All right. And one of my favorite questions.
your all-time favorite legal movie.
I should pick something, kind of To Kill a Mockingbird or something very
You don't have to do that.
academic.
No.
I should,
No.
but I'm picking Legally Blonde because that is my all-time favorite. Reese Witherspoon. Who can pass up on that?
It's an excellent choice. It is I don't know if you know, so we're doing occasionally on here some deep dives into legal movies for some fun. And so we've been compiling the list. Legally Blonde is on the list.
Yay.
My wife made sure of it because she wants to come on and talk about it with me, and I've got a buddy that we're doing that with. So
awesome.
That will be a fun one, and it will happen sooner probably than later. So that's a good suggestion, and don't even worry about it. No, there will be plenty of other. And To Kill Mockingbirds, of course, on the list as well. So you don't worry.
Of course,
it's not going to miss the list. Well, Kimber, thank you again so much for taking the time to be with us. This has been great, and I know all of the lawyers listening in the audience are better for having listened today. So appreciate you being here and wish you the best in 2020 and with your firm and just everything you have going on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. My thanks again to Kimber Davison of Griffith Davison in Dallas for joining us today on the show. So appreciate her being here, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, would you consider doing two things for me? Would you subscribe in whatever podcast player you use so you don't miss another episode? And two, will you please tell your friends and colleagues in the Texas legal community about the show so that we can serve as many of you as possible? If you have suggestions or thoughts about the show, or if I could help you in any way, please email me directly, daniel@varsitysearch.com. As a reminder, don't forget Movie Verdicts this Friday. Robert Callahan and myself, we're going to be breaking down The Lincoln Lawyer. So be sure to check your feed Friday for that. Thanks again so much to each of you for listening to Lone Star Lawyers. I'm Daniel Hare with Varsity Search. We'll talk to you next time.